What's happening, fam? Miami here with JST and
I've got another confession to make. I'm your fool. Everyone's got the chains to break, holding you. Were you born to resist or be abused?
hope you enjoyed that little snippet, and if you clicked on this video, you already know why you're here, because we recognize Foo Fighters as one of the greatest bands of all time. And I'm sure many of you know one of the best drummers in the world is no longer with us. Taylor Hawkins was the drummer for the Foo Fighters, and I've always admired his drum sound. In my own little way, this is me helping keep his sound alive and putting it in your hands to mess around with those sounds. By the end of this video, I'll have broken down what goes into the Foo Fighters sound. I'll also be delivering this template for the Reaper users as well as Pro Tools users for the first time ever. I hope that brings some of the anger levels down, and this template will be available for you guys in the description below. Step 1, drums. First, we're going to start with drums. Best of You is one of those songs you don't realize how reverbed out the drums are until you start to really analyze it. Let's start with the cymbals, but more specifically, let's find a good bell to hit. This song might not have one of those, but you definitely do. Right under this video, tap that notification bell, subscribe, and like button to help us out and keep up with our new content. As always, my transition game is still crazy. So let's start with the kick. You're going to want to start with a powerful kick sound. Think arena style, not like a basketball-y sounding kick or pillowy. The best way I could describe it is the way somebody hits the kick drum when the sound guy is trying to get levels. Anyone that's played a show knows that sound, and it's not an easy sound to get in the mixing world, but I'm going to show you how to get it from your typical basketball sounding kick with a little bit of EQ. Then we'll add a little reverb to make it sound like it was recorded in an arena or wide open space like an airplane hangar or one of those crazy places they record. I think they did something like this for this album. Alright, now we have a powerful kick. Notice when you're going for this arena rock type kick, it usually sits above the bass, and that makes sense with the EQ moves that were made. So we're going to jump into the snare. In this song, it sounds like there's a lot of reverb that you aren't noticing because of how thick everything else is, but trust me, it is definitely there. I'm hearing the tails. The snare I used in DrumForge already sounds pretty close to a Taylor-styled snare, so I didn't have to do a ton. Just had to make sure that the reverb was right and a little bit of a EQ boost here and there. Now, with the cymbals, in the original song, I don't feel like there's a lot really happening under 2K. Yeah, all the way up to 2K. Yeah, it sounds like a huge gap, but something tells me that they noticed that it was eating up too much room and wanted them to be pretty and shiny. Watch how much of a crazy difference these EQ moves are going to make. On to step 2, bass. When I hear Foo Fighters, I typically think of a nice Ampeg bass with a very deep low end and just a small amount of distortion. Not the typical split bass move I would usually go for, something that's more full sounding overall. I used Buster Oldham's Dingwall bass library for this and surprisingly got a similar tone to the one used in the song. It's all about dialing the amp in right sometimes, or all the time. On to step 3, the intro tone. Now, one thing that Dave Grohl has said many a times is that there isn't really anything special going on in his guitar tones. He likes to use a Vox AC30 for his clean amps with a 57. I don't know if you've ever seen the Vox amps with the British flag on them, but taking a look at the clean channel on Toneforge Ben Bruce, I'm gonna take a guess and say this is gonna be a pretty good starting point. If you don't have that, just grab a Vox or a British amp or Sim, but that will be essential to getting this kind of sound. Pay attention to the guitars in the original version. Not a lot is really going on under 300 Hertz, and not too much is happening above 5K except for kind of this percussive raking that I would guess is due to the semi-hollow body ES335 he uses. I just kind of cheat in my version and add some percussive raking like Chicka's to make it sound a bit more like the original. The rhythm tone here is not that complicated. There are layered guitars, but in the past, Foo Fighters typically used Mesa-style amps for their rhythms, or even Marshalls in the early days. For once, the rhythm is like the least complicated part. The layered tone is a lot brighter and more pushed than the underlying rhythm. I use Toneforge Guilty Pleasure for this, but I would say anything that's Marshall-y or orangey would get you in the ballpark of this. Could have probably gotten away with Toneforge Jeff Loomis on that rhythm channel. On to step 4, the vocals. Okay, so this was the most difficult part and easy part at the same time. The hardest because I had to actually sing like Dave Grohl, and this isn't my usual style of singing. The easiest because it was pretty easy to dial in once I started using Howard Benson vocals. The grit knob kind of gave me that push to get into the raspiness I needed to make the track sound right. Not gonna lie, I almost lost my voice doing this. I haven't even tried to push like this in so long, but we made it through enough to get through with this template. With full band stuff, it sounds like there's a double vocal for Foo Fighters that's not gridded all that well. So I went that route, and for the intro, I did a single vocal and made it a little bit roomy sounding. Let's check it out.
I've got another confession to make. I'm your fool. Everyone's got the chains to break, holding you. Were you born to resist or be abused? It's all about getting the best, the best, the best, the best of you. I've got another confession to make. I'm your fool. Everyone's got the chains to break, holding
Now that we've heard all these parts, let's put the song together.
I've got another confession to make. I'm your fool. Everyone's got the chains to break, holding you. Were you born to resist or be abused? It's time for getting the best, the best, the best, the best of you. It's time for getting the best, the best, the best, the best of you. Are you going on to someone new? I needed somewhere to hang my head without your news. You gave me something that I didn't have, but I know you. I was too weak to give in, too strong to lose. My heart is under arrest again, but I break loose. My head is giving me life or death, but I can't choose. I swear I'll never give in. I refuse. It's someone getting the best, the best, the best, the best of you. It's someone getting the best, the best, the best, the best of you. Has someone taken your faith? It's real. The pain you feel, your trust, you must confess. It's someone getting the best, the best, the best, the best of you.
Well, I hope you guys enjoyed my take on a Foo Fighters style template. Do you think I nailed it? Is there anything you would have done differently? Leave it in the comments and we'll open up a discussion about it. Once again, rest in peace to Taylor, and may your memory live on. If you're an engineer on the come up, give this video a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe, you only have to do it one time, and tap that bell for notifications so when a video drops, you know the location. Until next time, I am out of here. Mic drop, except as engineers we know, I'd never really drop this thing because that get really expensive, even if they are pieces of sure. Later.